Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's go over some sample problems from 2.4 and 2.7. Some are similar from the problems that we did in the last video, but there are a few new things, so let's get started. Okay, number 1. You have to write an algebraic equation and use it to solve the problem. Okay, so the length of a rectangular room is 8 feet longer than twice the width. So that would be 8 feet longer than twice the width. If the room's perimeter is 196 feet, what are the room's dimensions? So let's draw a rectangle. That's not a rectangle. There we go. Okay. So as we said, the length is 8 feet longer than twice the width. So we write it on both sides. Because the perimeter is 196 feet, and the perimeter is just the addition of all of the sides of the rectangle. And then width. So let's write our equation. So 196 equals, we just input all of these values into the equation. 8 plus 2w plus 8 plus 2w plus w plus w. And now we combine like terms. So we can combine we can combine w, 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 and then we can also combine 8 and 8. So 196 equals 8 plus 8 is 16 plus 2 plus 2 is 4, 5, 6. So 6w. Now we subtract 16 from both sides. So that it's going to give us 180 equals 6w. And now we divide by 6. And w is going to give us 30. So the width is going to be 30 what? 30 feet. Because you can't forget your units. 30 feet. So that's the width. So now let's solve for the length. In order to solve for the length, we would input our answer right here into this equation. So that's going to be 8 plus 2 times w. Our w, which is our width, is 30. So we put it there. And then it's going to be 8 plus 2 times 30 is going to give us 60. And 8 plus 60 is 68. 68 what? 68 feet. So the length is 68 feet. And then we write our actual answer somewhere. If I can find space, let's do it right here. So the dimensions are 30 feet by 68 feet. Or you could also put the width is 30 feet and the length 68 feet. But you have to remember to use your units. Okay, number 2. A reservation clerk worked 15.3 hours one day. She spent twice as much time entering new reservations as she did verifying the old ones, and 1.5 as much time calling to confirm reservations as verifying old ones. How much time did she spend entering the new reservations? She worked 15.3 hours. Now let's break this down. She spent twice as much time. Let's make our variable x to just make it a little easier. You can make it anything you want, to be honest. So, twice as much time entering new reservations as she did verifying the old ones. So this is the old one, and this is new, because she spent twice as much time, so we multiply it by 2. And then 1.5 as much time calling to confirm reservations as verifying old ones. So plus 1.5, which is 1.5 x. And now we would gonna plug it into an equation. So 15.3 equals x plus 2x, or you could do 2x plus x. Let's do that so we can be constant. 2x plus x, 1.5x. So now we combine like terms. 2 plus 1 is 3, so 3x plus 1.5x, which is going to give us 4.5x. Now we divide by 4.5, and x is going to equal 3.4, but we're not done yet. We have to multiply it by 2. So 3.4 times 2 equals 6.8 hours. Don't forget your units. And this is the time that she spent on entering new reservations, because this is the mix of the entire time that she spent doing all these different things. But this is the time that she spent on new reservations. That's our answer for number 2. So number 3. A high school graduating class is made up of 470 students. There are 124 more girls than boys. How many boys are in the class? Okay, so the total is 470, so 470 equals, there are 124 more girls than boys. More girls than boys. And how many boys are in the class? So 470 equals 124. B plus B is 2B. Then we subtract 124. That's going to give us 376 equals 2B. Divide by 2, divide by 2. And B is going to be 173. And for your answer, since it's a word problem, remember to specify what you solved for. So 173 boys. That's our answer. So number 4. Okay. Let x represent the number. Use the given conditions to write an equation, solve the equation, and find the number. 4 less than 9 times a number is the same as 11 times a number, and then we find the number. So we have 9 times a number and then 4 less. So we can make it into 9 times a number minus 4. And then it's the same, that's going to mean equal sign, 11 times x, or 11 times the number. So make it into an equation. 9 minus 4 equals 11x. And now we would solve it as we would any other equation. Subtract 9, subtract 9. Negative 4 equals 2x. And then now we would divide by 2, divide by 2. So x is going to equal negative 2. And that's your answer. These can seem a bit challenging just because they're a little different, but they're not that hard. You just have to understand the concept and read the question carefully. So 5. Solve the inequality, write the solution set in interval notation, and graph it. So let's change colors and let's rewrite this over here at the bottom. Negative 8r minus 8 is less than or equal to negative 2 parentheses 3r plus 10. So these are kind of like solving regular equations. It's the same steps. You can treat this as an equal sign until it comes to actually writing the set and interval notation and graphing it. Okay, so you guys have to be very mindful when it comes to these symbols. If it has a line on the bottom, that means less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. When you graph it, your circle is going to be closed. Or some will do, instead of a circle, they can graph it with a bracket. It depends on your professor. It depends on a few different things. But Okay, let's keep going. So now let's just solve it like we would any other equation. So, and now we distribute. So negative 6r minus 20. Remember the negative sign. Negative positive is a negative. So now let's do plus 6 plus 6. You could have done either side. I don't know. But let's just do it so that we have the variable on the left already. So negative 8 plus 6 is going to give us negative 2. Negative 2r minus 8 less than or equal to negative 20. Now we add 8. Add 8. So negative 2r is going to be less than or equal to negative 12. Divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. And you really have to be mindful with these inequalities, especially if you divide by a negative. If you divide by a negative, you have to switch the sign. You have to switch the sign. That's very important. So, negative 2 divided by negative 2 is going to be r, because a negative and a negative is a positive. And now, since we're dividing by a negative, we flip the sign. So we go like this. And then negative 12 divided by negative 2 is going to give us positive 6. So we're going to graph this. This is what we're going to graph. But we also have to write it in set interval notation. So since this has a little or equal to, like little line under it, it has to be in a bracket. The beginning has to be in a bracket. The answer you got, your x, or in this case your r. So that would be bracket 6 comma positive infinity parentheses. Now we graph it. So we can just do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Doesn't really matter in this case. Since it's an or equal to, at 6, we're going to do a closed circle. And then here, it says r is greater than or equal to 6. If it's greater than or equal to, if it's greater than, we go to the right, because to the right is positive, and then to the left is negative. So this is our graph, and this is our set interval notation. And now let's move on to number 6. Quite similar, same solved problem. Let's go. 24x minus 32 is greater than, let's distribute, 4 times 5, 20x, 4 times negative 2, negative 8. And now we would solve just like any other equation. Minus 20, minus 20. 24 minus 20 is 4. 4x minus 32 is greater than negative 8. Add 32, add 32. So that's going to give us, oh my, okay, 32. So 4x is greater than 24 divided by 4, divided by 4. X is greater than 6. So this is what's going to help us do our graph. And now we write it in set interval notation. So this little symbol right here does not have a line under it. It's not or equal to, it's just greater. So that means that when we write our interval notation, it's going to be in parentheses. 6 comma positive infinity. That's our interval notation. And now to graph. So once again, let's just do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, like I said, since it's just greater than and not greater than or equal to, our circle is going to be open when we graph. It's not going to be closed. And it says x is greater than 6. And when something is greater than, it's positive. And we go to the right once again. So once again, answer, interval notation, graph. Number 7. Getting a little spicy with the fractions, but that's fine. We got it. Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's distribute this into each of them. So 2 over 15 times x is 215x plus, let's do this off to the side, 2 over 15 times 9. Can we simplify this before multiplying? Yes, we can. We can simplify it by dividing by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6 over 5. It's greater than 1 over 9x. Like I said, distribute. Let's do this off to the side as well. Let's do it over here. Why not? 1 over 9 times 6. Can we simplify before multiplying? Yes, we can. By 3 once again. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 2/3 plus 2/3. This looks pretty ugly in my opinion, and it's going to be very annoying to graph, even though you'll eventually learn how to do that, but it's going to be very annoying right now. So why don't we get rid of the fractions? Once again, to get rid of a fraction, you have to multiply everything by a common denominator. Since we have different denominators, we have to find a number that can help us simplify all of them. In this case, that number is 45, because 45 goes into, well, each of these numbers can go into 45, can be multiplied to become 45. So let's do that. Let's do 45 times 2 over 15x plus 45 times 6 over 5 is greater than 45 times 1 over 9x plus 45 times 2/3. Okay, so can we simplify this? Yes. So 15 divided by 15 is 1. 45 divided by 15 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6, so 6x plus 5 divided by 5 is 1. 45 divided by 5 is 9, and 9 times 6 is 54. Is greater than 9 divided by 9 is 1. 45 divided by 9 is 5. 5 times 1 is 5, so 5x plus 3 divided by 3 is 1. 45 divided by 3 is going to give us 15, and 15 times 2 is 30. Now, doesn't that look easier to work with? Combine like terms and just we solve it like a regular equation now. So let's do minus 5x cancels, minus 5x. 6 minus 5 is 1. Well, we don't write the 1 since it's with a variable, so just x. Plus 54 is greater than 30. Now, minus 54 minus 54. X is greater than negative 24. So that's going to help us with our graph. And now we write it in interval notation. Now pay attention to the sign. It's just greater than. It's not greater than or equal to. So that means that everything is going to be in parentheses. So we do parentheses negative 24 to positive infinity. That was a horrendous infinity sign, but that's okay. So that's our interval notation. And now we graph it. There's no graph here, but let's make one up. Okay. So since it's negative, let's do negative 20, negative 21, negative 22, negative 23, negative 24. Should have given myself more space, but it's okay. Negative 23. Let's leave it there. Okay. Since it's just greater than, it's going to be an open circle. So let's find negative 24, open circle. And here it says x is greater than. And when it's greater than, we go to the right. So there we go. That's our graph. Now let's go to number 8. Okay. Solve for x and graph the results. So this is an OR. With OR graphs, they're going to be like this, going in opposite directions. And then we're going to do one later that's going to be an and and an and. They go into each other. But this is an OR, so they go in opposite directions. Let's do this. Okay, so now let's write them. 5x plus 4 is less than negative 36, or doing in different colors, 7x plus 1 is greater than 22, and now we solve them individually. So minus 4 minus 4, 5x equals negative 40. It does not equal, it's less than. My bad. Pay attention to that, very important. 5x is less than negative 40, divided by 5, divided by 5, x is less than negative 8. That is our first answer. And then to write an interval notation, since it's just a less than and not less than or equal to, it's going to be all in parentheses, so negative 8, comma, positive infinity. So that's interval notation, and then this is what we're going to use to graph. Now let's solve the other one. Oops. Minus 1, cancel. 7x is greater than 21. Divided by 7, x is greater than 3. And then to write that in interval notation, once again, since it's just greater than, it's going to be all in parentheses, so it's going to be 3, comma, positive infinity. So that is interval notation. This is what we're going to use to graph, and now let's graph it. So, like I've said probably already 50 billion times, since it's just less than and greater than, and there is no line under it, it's not less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, it's going to be open circle when we graph. So let's find negative 8, open circle, and now let's find positive 3, open circle, and then here it says x is less than negative 8. When something is less than, it's negative, we go to the left. And here it says x is greater than 3. When it's greater than, we go to the right. And that is our answer. So now we have one more. Let's go. One more, last one. Okay. Solve the inequality. Give the solution set in both interval and graph forms. Same thing we've been doing, except instead of being an or, now it's an and. And like I said before, like you saw here, ors go in opposite directions. The ands are going to come together. And we solve it together. Let me show you. So 13 less than negative 4z plus 5 less than 29. When we solve this, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So let's put it into play. So minus 5, because we want to isolate z. So minus 5, and then we will do minus 5 and minus 5 to both sides. So 13 minus 5 is going to be 8. It's less than negative 4z. It's less than 24. And now we're going to divide by negative 4. And remember what I said. When you're dividing, when you're doing an inequality, and you're dividing by a negative sign, by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. You have to. Because it's going to go in the opposite direction now. So 8 divided by negative 4 is going to give us negative 2. Flip the sign. Negative 4 divided by negative 4, that's going to be positive 1. But in this case, it's going to be z. Z. You flip the sign, because 24 divided by negative 4 divided by negative is going to give us negative 6. And you flip the sign. So now, interval notation for this is going to be together. Notice that the negative 2 is just a regular sign with no line under. It's just greater than, not greater than or equal to. So that's going to have a parentheses, negative 2, comma, since it's and, we don't include infinity. It's going to be the other and, which in this case does have a greater than or equal to sign. So now we would do negative 6 bracket. Also, this is z is less than and z is greater than. If I misspoke, I'm sorry. But okay. So that's the interval notation. And now let's graph it. So, negative 2. Let's find negative 2. Negative 2, open circle, because it has no line under it, remember? And now let's find negative 6, close circle, because it's or equal to. So, z is less than negative 2. When it's less than, we go to the left. And z is greater than or equal to negative 6. When it's greater than or equal to, we go to the right. So that's our answer, that's our video. And yep. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm putting out another video this weekend. Maybe I'll do an in-person session next week. I'm not sure yet, but I'll keep you updated. And thank you for joining.